I heard a quote today that blew my mind. Actually, I shouldn't say that. You know, when you hear about a movie and everyone tells you how amazing it is, and so you're going into it with so much expectation, and then of course it may be good, but it's not like what they said it was. And so let's just say okay, this quote was horrible. Yeah, this quote was horrible. Okay, here it is. I want to share it with you. If you focus on what you have, you will lose. I'm sorry, let me start over. If you focus on what you don't have, you will lose what you have. And if you focus on what you have, you gain what you lack. That is by Greg McKeown. I'm notorious for butchering names. I'm going to say Greg M. Let me say this again because, man, this hit me sideways. Is this not a brilliant quote? Is this not what life is about? I mean, I guess it depends on your experience, but for me, this sums up so much. Okay, if you focus on what you don't have, you lose what you have. If you focus on what you have, you gain what you lack. Most of my life, I would focus on what I didn't have. And by doing so, I would lose what I had. So I wouldn't be grateful for everything I've had, how far I've come, what I'm building. I wouldn't experience hope. I wouldn't allow myself to experience joy. I wasn't mindful. I just went through life thinking that it was lacking, that I was lacking. And so my focus was on everything that I didn't have. And with that mindset, that way of life, especially, if it's every day, you don't realize what you have, And so it's like, it's slippery. It's like instead of appreciating and valuing what you have, so that can be your foundation, and then you build on that, you don't believe you have anything. And when you don't believe you have anything, then you feel that life is meaningless, or you could feel that you are not going anywhere. And so for I would say almost 2 decades I lived that way. And I think the other thing it does is it wires you a certain way. It trains you to that becomes your default, right? And so it lays these tracks in your brain where you are only taking a black light to what's missing, and it doesn't just stop with your life. It goes across all relationships, right? So even in relationships, friendships, romantic relationships, you have been trained now to scan what's wrong, what's missing, what's lacking, and so then life becomes something that is half-baked. Life becomes a chasing game, life is on pause. Now, recently, and by recently I mean probably in the last 5 years, pretty recent, and I'm 48, so it wasn't, until my early 40s that I started to change my mindset. And I study and know about this, but there's a difference between knowing something and actually executing it, right? So I think for me it took 2 or 3 years, and I'm just starting to see the results of this. But here's the practice, and it's the second part of this quote. It's if you focus on what you have, then you gain what you lack. If you focus on what you, and this doesn't mean to not want things, right? This doesn't mean to just be okay with what you have. I mean, I'm super ambitious. I want more everything, right? So that's not what it's saying. But what it's saying is if you focus on what you have and really sit with it, really be grateful, then what you, one second, how did the quote go? Then what you gain, then you will gain what you lack. Meaning, what you believe you don't have will will be gone, won't have power over you. So let me give you a real life example. So we had this really heavy sliding glass door, and I'm using this example because it's not like it's so like small, mundane, and practical, right? Because I don't want to use some big example like some kind of deal, career, big houses, cars, or anything like that. This is just an example I think that anyone can relate to. There's this sliding glass door that we have, and it's made out of like iron, and it's probably from the 50s or something, and it came with the house. And so for the last this house, we were in this house for less than a year, so I don't know, for the last 9 months we've been sliding this glass door. Now we step out of our house to go into to the garage and work in the backyard probably like 10-20 times a day. So we're sliding this giant heavy glass door that just grinds. It's got no wheels on it. It's like fingernails on chalkboard every time you open this thing. And we finally replaced it, and now this thing is smooth. It's like you can open it with one finger. The iron glass door, it took 2 hands and some muscle to open this thing. And the other day, I was stepping out and I said to myself, let's really appreciate this. Let's really appreciate this glass door. And as I was opening it, I was like, oh man, this is amazing. It changed the quality of my day-to-day coming in and out from the house to the garage and backyard. And I was like, oh, it's almost like a sense of relief, like this feels so amazing. And I was super grateful that I had the opportunity to take out the giant tank that was my glass door, and now we have this smooth operating door. Now, of course, as the days goes by, I'm not going to think about that much, and it's just going to be another door, right? And maybe one day I'll look back and I'll be like, oh, remember when we had that giant glass door that we couldn't even open? Because it's day to day, and it just kind of disappears, right? But for now, I am grateful, and I'm trying to be mindful of appreciating this little thing that is actually big. And so in your life, ask yourself, because what it does is it elevates your mood. The deep feeling and practice of gratitude makes you realize that you do have things, and it doesn't matter if it's something big, like maybe it's a company or an amazing marriage, or a glass door that slides like butter, and to be grateful for these things. And of course you're building and you want more and you're ambitious and all of that, but you're not lacking. There's things happening. You're swimming forward, and you are creating. And what it does is it creates a higher frequency emotion where I think, and according to positive psychology and Barbara Fredrickson, I believe that's her name. I might have not said her name correctly either. But the build and broad theory, this idea that instead of waiting for good things to happen to you and then feeling good, what if you're able to, and this is an ability, it takes time, and practice, what if you're able to actually produce the good feeling first? What if you're able to produce the calm, the gratitude, the positive emotions, and then allow that to, and I don't know whatever word you want to use, manifest, allow that to build, allow that to open doors, create opportunities. And I think for me, in my early 40s, I started to do this, right? I started to really focus on what I had and building on that, instead of saying, oh, here's what I lack, here are the holes in my life, and thinking that my life was incomplete, or I was incomplete until I swam to the island, right? And I think when I start to change that mindset and actually really practice it, and I'm not saying that it's easy, it feels like swimming upriver sometimes, but what it does is it produces a positive emotion. It gets you out of fight or flight. You feel gratitude, and from there, I think good shit happens. I think from there, and it's not just about the energy you're putting out, but it's like this. I just feel like you're flipping your magnet to start attracting. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, I know it sounds kind of hokey, but I really think that's what happens. I think there's a lot of things that are happening in this world that we can't see, and when we are maneuvering on that frequency, where we are grateful of what we have, where we're at, knowing that we are swimming forward and building and working on ourselves and all that, and for some of us that we may feel like we have a long ways to go, and that's okay. That is so powerful, and I think that's going to be where stars line up. And for me, recently in the last year, there's been a lot of like miracles. There's been a lot of things that have just kind of fallen from the sky, and I don't think it's luck. I think it's the result of me practicing this positive emotion daily, and it's not a false, forced thing, right? I'm not just like being a cheerleader to myself. I'm dropping down and really trying to focus on what I have, be grateful for how far I've come, who's in my life, all the amazing relationships, although not perfect, right? But nothing's perfect. No one's perfect. And being grateful and allowing myself to experience joy, not hitting pause on life because something didn't happen or I don't have something, And when you start to live that way, you start to gain what you lack.